Hello everybody and welcome to my studio. My name is Lonna. I am an acrylic artist. Thank you for stopping in today. I hope you're going to grab your paintbrushes and paint along. We're going to be painting a really cute penguin today. I have titled this one Morning Swim. It was taken from a photograph on Pexels, I believe. I do have the link for that photograph in my packet, which you can purchase at lonnalamb.com, and the packet includes step-by-step written instructions, step-by-step color photos, a line drawing, and a full color photo of this design. So I hope you'll grab one of those over there at lonnalamb.com so you can paint along with me. And I am going to be using DecoArt Americana paints. It's a very easily accessible paint at most craft stores, and it's a really easy paint to work with. So I think you will really have fun painting this really cute penguin, and I can't wait to paint it with you because, oh my gosh, it was so fun. And there's not a lot of technical stuff that goes on in this painting. You're going to be surprised how much we just put some paint in some places and it works out when it comes together. It's going to be great. If you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up for this video. Please comment and share. It all helps me right here on YouTube with my algorithm to get me boosted up so that I can continue to bring you these amazing videos. So if you're ready, let's grab our paints and supplies and let's paint this adorable penguin. Alright, I've got my surface here. I am just painting on an 8x10 wood surface because I didn't have any canvas panels or 8x10 canvases. So I have prepped this with a coat of multi-purpose sealer with my damp 2-inch foam roller, and then applied 2 coats of chalky white gesso with the same foam roller. Now, I've cut out my penguin. I printed it off and cut it out, and I want to paint around that penguin. Now, I could just paint the whole thing in, then come back and paint the penguin white, but if I can avoid some of those steps, that would be good. So I'm going to take my water. I'm going to try this. I don't know that it's going to work. Load my brush up with some water, and I'm going to wet this paper, and hopefully it will stick to the board while I paint. I'm going to press it down. And I've got it pretty wet on the back side, and that water's going to soak into that paper pretty good. So I'm just going to try and get it on here the best I can. If some of the paint gets underneath here, I'm not going to worry too much about it, but I want to try and keep that penguin right there where it's at. I'm going to use my roller and apply a coat of paint on here, and I'm going to put the color Laguna. It's a light color. I want to start out with this more green color and then build some colors on top of it. So we're going to give this a shot. I don't know if this will even work, but we'll try it. Okay, my roller is damp. I'm going to load it with my paint. And then I do have my penguin taped on the back side with a piece of tape. I want to make sure it's kind of dry right there. No moisture coming out from underneath the paper. And then I'm just going to roll this on here around my penguin. Try not to lift that paper. So I'm being a little bit gentle as I go on the paper here. This is a pretty bold green here. I have to add some white to that. That's much brighter than I expected it to be. So I'm going to put some white on my palette. I think we'll do an equal mix here, or maybe 2 white to 1 Laguna, because I really want that to be a little bit lighter. So I can see that my penguin is lifting up, so I'm going to push it back down, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to try and push it back down to where it was at. Like I said, if this is too difficult, then just use your paintbrush and paint around the penguin as best you can. So I want this to be a little bit lighter. hold my penguin in place. This is an equal mix of those two, but then I already had that dark under there, so okay, that is a good start. I'm going to keep my hand here because I don't want that penguin to lift up. And I'm going to put some more colors on my palette here. Of course, I do want to add some more white on here. We're going to do a little stippling. So I've got some white. There's still a little bit of that Laguna on there. I'll put a little bit more. And we're going to add some blues in here. This is Open Water, one of my favorite blues. And we'll try some tropical blue. I'm not sure which of these blues are going to look the best, but I do need some darker blues in here. That's tropical. That might be dark enough. And then this one is Midnight Blue. Alright, so I'm going to take a stippling sponge. You can use a sea sponge. I am going to get it wet. And wring out the moisture. I want to squeeze the moisture out into a paper towel. So it's not incredibly wet, but it does need to be damp. Alright, I'm going to load up some white. I've just scrunched it into like a ball in my hand. I'm going to load up some white and some Open Water. Kind of tap those together, and I'm going to start tapping those up here around my penguin. And I do want to blend them, so to blend them I'm just going to start twisting on the sponge a little bit. Bring that down. That Laguna and white mix is still wet under there, so it's going to blend a little bit with that. Alright, I'm going to grab those two colors again. Some white, some Open Water, and this time I'm going to add some of that other blue in there. Get all three of them going. And I'll come down here and start tapping. And if your Laguna and white start drying a little bit before, a little bit more than what you want them to dry, then just go pick up some more on your sponge. You can have many colors on your sponge going at the same time. So whatever sponge you're using, just pick up multiple paints and go for it. I'm going to tap it on there and then start gently kind of mushing and blending it together. I'm going to work it up to this side, and I got a little bit there. I'm going to put a little bit of this dark color back here, up in here. That might be a lot, so put a little bit of darkness up here. And now I'm going to come down in here and soften a little bit. It's too blotchy. I don't want it blotchy. I want it to look a little more coming together kind of look. I do want to add some of this darker blue in here, so I'm going to grab some of it and put some of that in here and gently blend it. It's definitely going to be darker a little bit around the penguin. Let me find a better spot to grab some of that paint because I'm not getting near enough. There we go. Dab and blend, dab and blend. Keep it along the bottom here. And I'm going to put some here. Dab and blend, dab and blend. A little bit up through here. Now we've got other stuff that we got to put in here, so you know, our waterline and stuff, a little bit of light blending with some white. We'll do some dry brushing in there, I think, a little bit more. Over here, I really want this to be a little bit darker. lightly tap. You tap a little hard to get your paint to come off your sponge, and then you start tapping lightly to very gently blend that. Whatever sponge you want to be using, you can use a, you know, just a regular sponge. Now you have to be careful if you start going back to areas, because you could start lifting a little bit. So we want it lighter here, darker down here. I might put a little bit more darkness back in through here, just a little tapping of color. And I think that looks pretty good. We will come in and do some dry brushing and adding some colors back through here a little bit, but I think overall that's not too bad. Add a little bit of lighter color through here, if there's any still on my sponge. That's a darker color. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there because I don't want to accidentally start lifting paint. So that is I think that's all we're going to need the penguin for. I'm going to lift him up and see how well I did. Not too bad. I kept his shape pretty well. I'm going to fold him over that way just in case I have to come back and add a little bit more paint in here. I want to get this completely dry, and then we'll start going. Okay, I'm going to try and transfer on my lines with this paper one that's here. If you've got so much paint on yours you can't see your lines, then you'll definitely want to get your pattern that you have created. Actually, I'm going to make sure it's where it needs to be. This is the only tricky part here, making sure it's where it needs to be and then sliding your graphite under it. If you can't get this paper thing that you have here, this cutout, to lay where you want it to lay, then definitely grab your line drawing. I think that's pretty close. I basically just need, let me get a thinner one. I want to know where the eye is. And where the beak goes to. Oh, my paper doesn't go all the way out there, so that's not very helpful. And I kind of want to know where some of these darker areas are going to be. I know this is the water line across here. Okay, and it goes up this way. That's the bubble part up there. I don't really need that right now. This is the wing. Okay, we've got some dark stuff here. And then this goes down through here for darker. We've got darker through here. And it goes up around the beak. So I just want to kind of give myself some areas where I know it's going to be dark, and I'm going to have some lights in here. Okay, and I know on the wing down here I'll have some stuff. I could put my line on there, but it's not necessary. So I've got a few lines on there that I can start with, and this water line right here I can just draw. Let's see if I can finish that water line out right there under the head. Okay, so it goes to there, and then I can put my line drawing back on here if I want to get that water line just right. And I think actually I'll use my white graphite. See if it will show up. It may not even show up on here. I might have to use my gray, so I didn't leave much of a line, so I'm going to draw it in with this. And that's going to connect to the water line there. So you will need white and gray graphite to do this. to get your lines, especially your water line where it needs to go. So I'm pretty much done with this guy here. Well, let me try and put the remainder line of that beak on there. Okay, that helps. Alright, so I just went ahead and pulled that off of there. So that worked out really well doing that. I wasn't sure 100% how well it would work. I did get a little bit of bleed under here and a little bit here, but I think overall it did exceptionally well. I didn't have my paper super wet, so I think if I had gotten a little bit more water out on the edges where it would stick a little better on the edges, then it would have been better. So when you dampen yours, after you put it on here and you fold it over the side and you tape it, open it up and wet your paper and make sure you get your edges really well, then fold it back across and press it down and wipe off any moisture that comes out from underneath it, and then start painting. I think that worked out incredibly well. I'll be keeping this in case I want to paint another one in the future. And this is my original line drawing, so I'll be hanging on to that. And we are going to gather our paints to get ready to paint this penguin. Okay, I don't want to have any ridge here where I had my paper, so if I feel a ridge, I'm going to take a very ultra soft sanding pad or a brown paper bag. If you don't have something that is smooth, this is like smooth as paper here. If you don't have something this smooth, you're going to want to use a brown paper bag, because otherwise you're just going to remove your paint. I want to make sure there is no ridge transition between the penguin and the background paint. So I just want to lightly sand where I feel a little bit of a ridge. Okay, so when you close your eyes and take your hands over it, you shouldn't feel any difference between the surface. It should feel the same all the way across. I do have a little bit still right in there. Okay, I'm just going to very lightly sand the whole thing, because that sponge should put a little bit of texture on there, and that's going to give me a super smooth surface. Just knocks that roughness right down. Brown paper bag does the exact same thing as this ultra fine sanding pad does. Okay. Alright, let's start adding some color into our penguin. Okay, we're not going to be using a whole big variety of colors, so I'm just going to use this foam plate here. If it ends up not working out so well, then I'll definitely grab my regular palette. This is graphite. I'm going to start with that and a little bit of white. And we're going to paint some light gray areas in on the penguin first. And I'm going to start with my little round brush because I want to paint in the eye. So I'm going to take some graphite and white and mix them together to get a nice soft light gray or medium valued gray. And we'll paint in this part of the eye. Okay, get that started. The eye is actually more almost oblong shaped, but I think I'll leave it there for now. Alright, I'm going to take a flat brush and I'm just going to block in some colors here. I'm going to take my graphite and my white and make a medium gray color. And we're going to block some color in here. We'll eventually turn to a darker color up through there. We can put a little bit through here, down through here. And we don't need a lot here, so don't We'll be coming in with our white and our darker colors and kind of blending this in here. Let's put a little bit on the lower wing. I think through here. A little bit back here. This is just blocking in color. We're not getting too crazy with stuff here. A little bit through here. Alright, that's looking pretty good. You can do some little dibby dabs here and there. Just with the corner of the brush, just lightly dibby dab. Okay. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Just do a little dibby dabbing out around this a little bit. Don't want to get in the water, so try to stay out of your water. You could tape off around your penguin if you want. But I think we can stay off the penguin pretty good. I'm going to put a little bit of this up here on the back. It will be lighter up through here. So we can start with a mid-range color up through here and just block some of this in. We're not painting, we're just laying in some color and blocking some in here, okay? Alright, just blocking in a medium value gray. That was graphite and white mixed together. And we got one coat on the eye. And I might try to adjust that eye a little bit, I don't know. It is oblong, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, there is this kind of purplish pink color close to the penguin's beak, so I'm going to use some frosted plum, and I'm going to mix it with some white so that it is not real dark. So we'll take one plum, and let's do 2 whites. Get this very light pink color. We're going to block this in here and up through here a little bit on both sides of the beak, but this comes all the way down here. Just block some of that in there. That's a little dark, but we can lighten it up, so not to worry. Okay, I want my eye to be lighter, so I'm going to put another coat in here and add more white into the mix and try and make it a more of an oblong shape. I can come and clean it up with white paint later. This is white up through here, and I'll take a little bit of that light gray mix, and you'll want to use some kind of fine detail brush that you can put the lines in for the eye itself. I'm just using that light gray and making that outline around the eye a little bit. And then a little bit of white in here, because we don't really want to see these lines. We just want to know that this is part of the eye. We'll add a little bit of blue in here later to help shape this. A little This is not finishing out the eye, this is just making sure our shape is. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that pink, or that purpley color, if I can get it on my brush. We're going to put a little bit of that up here. Okay, that's making his eye shape look better. I'm going to whiten this. We're going to be adding, like I said, some blue color in here later, but for now we just want to get that shape in there good. Okay, that is a really good start to his eye right there. So, if you didn't get the shape good the first time, just play around with it a little bit till you get that shape nice in there. I'm going to take our white paint and I'm going to put some right through here. I think I want to add a little bit of blue in here, so let me grab my blue paints. I think I'll use the tropical blue maybe. Just put a tiny little bit of that in my brush. We want a little blue tint through here and a little blue through here. Okay, we're still just blocking in color here, so bit of white colors and a little bit of that blue down here. And we can come in and add that more of that at the end. Let's put a little bit of blue down through here. And you see I'm just using this tiny little round brush here with just a small amount of paint. So it's just a little bit of blue and white mixed together, tropical blue, and we'll just put some fun little blue stuff here and there. Go down here and add a little bit. Okay. So just a few key places there. We'll come back once we get more detail in and do that some more, especially under here. Okay, let's start adding in blocking in some of our black areas. I think that's going to help with how this looks a lot. And then we can come back in and add more of our other colors. Let me wide angle back out. Okay, I want to put straight graphite on here to my dark areas, and then we will come in and darken with black, but we'll start out with graphite. So this wing here is going to be dark, so we can just follow the shape of this wing and fill it in. Graphite is not the most opaque of colors, so I'm going to put some of this here. Again, we're just blocking in color all up through here. Try not to cover up my other gray that I put in there. Okay, so this is going to go like this. That's our water line along there, but okay, this is mostly dark through here. Again, we're just blocking in color. Go to that water line. So if you end up getting too much paint somewhere, we'll come back with the white and fix it. So go around the eye here, a little bit of tabbing. I've already put too much in there, so I know I'm going to have to come back in with some white and add some of that in. But this is, I would say that first gray would be our light color. This is our medium color. We'll definitely be coming in with some darker colors. So I'm going to go up on the corner, but you can certainly go to a smaller brush here and just kind of dab in through there and blend that out a little bit. I want to get on the beak here. And it's got this like almost M thing right there. Oh, I just covered it up, so we'll come back with our light color and fix that. Okay, that's too much paint right through there. Okay, a little bit down here on this wing. I'm sure no two penguins are alike, so if yours does not look like mine, do not stress out. Okay. Okay, so we've got some darker color working in through here. I'm going to tap a little bit of this in through here. Just with the corner of the brush. This all comes down to here. And this should have some white going through there. So we do have some white areas we're going to have to come back in with. But I think it's looking pretty good overall. Alright, we'll get through this ugly stage in just a little bit, but I'm going to zoom in so we can work on the eye. So I'm going to go back to my small round here. This is a number 2 round, but you can certainly use a 1 round. The very center of the eye is black. So we're going to put a black circle in there, sort of a circle. I'm going to take that black and go around this edge of the eye. Wipe my brush out and grab a little bit of white. Clean up this spot here. Okay, we need a little a little bit of gray along this edge. I think I want that to be just a tiny bit darker. I'm just mixing some black and white together here on my little brush here. Stay up on the tip of the brush here. I'll take a tiny bit of white and kind of separate that just a little bit. I want to put a little bit of blue in there. Kind of like the eyelid there. And want a little bit of this light color back here. Okay, I'm going to take a teeny tiny little bit of that blue, that tropical blue, and really mix it in with my white here. I want it to be very, very, very light, where you're barely going to see it. And we're going to put that in around the eye. Okay, because that's not going to be pure white in there. It's just a little hint of that blue, and then we'll have some up here on the eyelid. Okay, I'm going to have to darken the gray in the eye itself. This needs to be a little bit darker. Not quite that as light as I had it. You could add a little bit of blue in there. And we'll come back in with our black there. Okay, I might mix a tiny bit of that blue in with my black. There we go. That looks better. I want that to be dry because I'm going to take that blue and black mix, a little tiny bit of it on my angle brush. I'm just mixing the two together. It's going to give me this blue-black color. I've got water in my brush that has blended it together. Make sure you're dry, and then just put a little bit of that down here on the eye. Okay, I think that's pretty good for the eye. We're going to leave it there for now because we're going to work on some other aspects of the penguin. Actually, the pink area around the eye right here. I'm going to blend that a little bit. Just a tiny little bit of white on there. Okay. He's looking pretty good on his eye. I like it. Okay, I had to turn my heater on behind me, so if you hear that noise from my heater, I apologize for that. We are going to start working on our dark areas, and up here in this part here and on this wing, maybe a little bit down in here, I'm going to use one of these brushes. These are just some dome brushes. They're not real stiff. They're fairly soft actually. I've got a DecoArt brand, a Dynasty brand, a Betty Bird, and another Dynasty. So if you have something that is kind of domed like this, that's soft, let's give that a try. So I'm going to try one of these and see how I like doing this. So I've got black and white out on my palette. I could put graphite out here as well, but I think I'll just stick with the black and the white. We're going to start working, actually I think I'll start down here on the wing. It is the darkest. I'm going to use this brush dry and load it up with some black, and I'm just going to start dabbing this in here. grab a little bit of white, and I'll start kind of adding a little bit of texture in there. Go back into my black. Stay right along this edge here. Keep that crisp. If you get out of line, it's not a big deal. You can come back with your white and clean that up. I'm still just using black. And like I said, you can use graphite, but I've got my white here, so I'm just going to blend some of that white into my brush and make a lighter gray here. And tap along there. And get a little highlight on the top edge of that wing there. Okay, so that's got the wing started pretty good. A little bit more black right through here. So I'm going to go up and work on the back up here. Now up here we've got, it's got some highlight hitting it there. So I can pick up a little bit of white to begin with and add a lighter gray in here. And we'll come back and highlight on that later. I'll just do a little bit at a time. Now I'm going to go into my black and grab that and start working that in here. And I'm going to let it blend a little bit where those come together. I'll wipe my brush off, get a little bit of that out so I can just do a soft blending here. Back in through here, we're going to add a little more lighter gray, so I'm just going to pick up some white and work that through there. Put a little bit of it down through here, and I'm not using water on this, so I'm just using paint, and we're going to add some. Actually, I'm going to wipe my brush off and just kind of dab and make that a little texture-y through there. We'll use our smaller brush to come in and fill that in a little bit. But we're getting this beautiful look on our penguin here. It's not too difficult to achieve. I'm going to pick up a little bit more white on this same brush. Right along this edge. I really like this brush because it comes to a point out here. So it really makes it nice for adding some color in here. So I'm picking up black now. And I'm going to work a little bit of black through here. And very gently blend. This is a wet on wet technique. This really has become my favorite way to paint. A little bit more white. We want some highlight through here. So I'm going to tap a little bit of that lighter color through here. Remove that excess paint out of my brush and grab my black. We still want to know where the wing there is, so I'm going to tap this and let it get a little raggedy out here. Not let it be quite such a perfect line there. And then go back in and tap and blend. Look how that's coming together. Just beautiful. Alright, go back into some white. We're going to put some white up here. And I don't have a smaller of this brush. I should look into maybe getting one. I'm going to wipe excess paint off so I can go in here and just blend it a little bit through here. Wipe off my excess paint and Let's do a little, I'm going to grab a little bit more of the light color. And blend that. Grab some darker through here. And I'm going to have to switch over to a smaller brush. I'm getting into some finer areas here. And I'm going to tap a little bit through here. Look how good that penguin is looking right there. I love it. Alright, so through here, I think I can put a little bit of dark through here and then come back in with my smaller brush and do the detail work. So I'm going to tap a little bit in through here. And a little bit there. I don't got much paint on my brush here, so. And then on our nose, we'll have to do a little bit different brush. I'm going to go ahead with this brush though and put some down here on the lower wing. This is the inside of the wing. I'll just tap some of that in there. A little bit of dark color, a little bit of gray, a little bit of white. We'll add a little bit of blue in there probably too. Okay, so I really don't want to get this wet in case I need to come back in and add another layer in here. So I'll get this up to that white line there. So I'm going to clean it out with some hand sanitizer so that I can use it again later. So I'll show you how I do that. I'm going to take my paper towel and get as much paint out of my brush as possible. Preferably on a dry paper towel. That one felt a little damp. And then I'm going to work some hand sanitizer into it. And then I'll wipe it out. Hand sanitizer is mostly alcohol, so it will evaporate out of your brush fairly quickly. These softer bristled brushes will stay wet longer, so you have to really get that hand sanitizer out of there. And I'm just going to keep cleaning my brush until it gets lighter and lighter and there's not any paint that's mixing in with the hand sanitizer anymore, because that means I've got all the paint out of it. Okay? Okay, I'm going to take my little round brush and I'm going to thin a little bit of black paint by adding just a little bit of water into it. And we're going to work a little bit up here. We're going to make some little strokes coming in here. Through here. Some little dabs here. It's okay if we can see white and pink through there as well. Now your paint really needs to be thinned here. Remove a little bit of paint off my brush. I can come back in with some white and thin this down, you know, thin these areas down, but we want some super fine little hairs in here. I'll try not to get you off camera. I'm terrible about getting you off camera when I zoom in. I'll do a few little dabs back here. And dabs through here. Okay, we're going to add some white dabs back in there because we definitely need that. A few a little bit more through here. And then some little strokes through here. Grab a little bit more paint on my brush. through here. Mix me a little bit more water into my black so I can get that nice little thin paint. Remove a little bit of paint off my brush here. Little dabs. This is really dark right through here. Add some white back in there. We'll be adding some white in through here too to lighten some of this up. And some little dabs through here into that gray area. You can go down to a 1 round for this. I'm really staying up on the very tippy tip of this brush. So I'm going to bring some of this darker stuff up around the eye a little bit. And just a few out and about through here. Okay, let's go to the beak area. Work a little bit on it. It's going to be really dark through here. We've got like this almost M looking section through here. So it actually comes down through here and then comes up and kind of over that way. And there's a space which we'll have to add that back in. There's a little bit of darkness through here. So this is probably what will be the most tedious thing, is painting this area around the face in. So I'm just going to take my round brush and smooth out all this color here. Create the line that separates the beak, and then take my black and we're going to work it through here. Kind of work it along here. Alright, now down through here. We've got that little bit of blue that's in there. We're going to have a little bit of light color down there. And then we've got dark stuff going on here. I'm still just using this small round. Just going to create some little stroke-like things here to give his beak a little bit of texture. Right through there. I'm going to grab a little bit of that blue. Actually, I'm going to wipe my brush off so I can blend that in with the black a little bit. So I'm just going to load a little bit of that on my brush. That's a tropical blue right through here. I'm going to wipe off and get just a tiny little bit of black because that will just take over so quickly, and let those gently blend. Okay, I'm going to do the same up here. A little bit of blue. Wipe off, grab a little bit of black. A little bit more black. And we'll let that blend just a little bit. A little tiny bit of white. And I'll put some of that through here. It's got a little bit of black still in my mix here, so it's a little bit on the gray side, and I'm going to put some of this through here. So that's mostly our black. I hope I had you on camera for that. A little bit of white right here on the side of the beak right there. It comes down to a point. Okay. Okay, I want to lighten up that little pink area that's on there, so I'm going to get some fresh frosted plum out. Just need a tiny little dot of that. And this is still pretty dark, so I'm going to take my frosted plum and my white and really lighten that up to the lightest of purpley pink colors, okay? And we're going to lighten up these pink areas just by dabbing this in those areas, this color. Okay, just some little dibby dabs through here. Okay, I'm going to wipe my brush off and then pick up some white. Some little bitty, teeny tiny little dots on here. Want these to stay little. Don't let them get ginormous. You can use a fine detail liner to do this. Okay, that's going to put a little bit of texture in there. Let's put a little bit of this pink right here. And we can add a little bit here. We'll just make up our own mind where we want to put that pink. It doesn't really matter. Okay, we're going to go into white now, just white, and we're going to start adding some of this in here. That's a lot of paint there. So we'll add some little strokes of this, maybe. I think I wiped off too much paint. And a few little dibby dab dots on there. A few little strokes and dabs and dots and stuff through here. And some of this down through here. This is white. And just tiny little stuff. Don't. Okay, we're not making great big stuff. We could add a little bit of black into that to gray that out just a little bit. Because we want this to all just be like little dabs out here. Let's grab a little bit of blue. Take our blue and our white and mix them together, get a light color. I've still got a tiny bit of that gray in my brush, so it's still got a tiny bit of that gray blue look to it. I'm going to put a little bit of this in here. Okay, I want a little bit up through here, so let me try and get that a little thinner so we can put some of this up through here. It's just a tiny bit bluer. This could be the water reflecting on the penguin right here. Okay, and we need that like M area that was right through here. I'm going to wipe my brush off and grab some black, because we need some black on the other side of this. And then grab a little bit, actually I'm going to wash my brush off for this one. A little bit of that blue and white mixed together. I want this to be a little bit brighter. I'm going to put right here. Come back and add some white onto there. A little bit of blue there. Through here. Okay, he's looking pretty good. A little bit more black on the beak. Let's create that line a little bit better. Just do a little dabbing here, try and blend those out a little bit. Okay, we want that line. It's good up there. I want to make sure it's down here. A little bit of that blue, I think, would be helpful. Above and below. I didn't have you on camera for any of that, so let's grab some black. I don't want that to be quite so bold right there. And we'll try and put that black line right back down the center here. Definitely need more water. Ink it up. Very fine line here. Grab a little bit of the pink, which is the white and the it needs to be a little bit more curved there. A little bit of white. That was a lot of water in my brush there. A little bit of black. Still had a lot of water. Wipe that off because that looks really bad. looks better. We just need that thin little black line right through there. I just have way too much water in my black paint here. To get that line as thin as I would like it. Let me see if I can remove a little bit of that line. Because that really needs to be a super thin line there. Okay, a little bright highlight down here on the edge of the front of the beak. Definitely want that to be a little bit more blended. So the beak really will be what takes the most time, I think. Oops. A little bit more black here. A few dots up through here. Right there. And just a few little dabs. Okay, so right through here on the head, we're going to work on doing a little dibby dab in here with some black, and then we'll come back with some white. This is mostly a white area. It's right through here. And the water line comes right through here. So that's got a lot of gray in it because I had a lot of black still on my brush. So I'm going to grab some white and we'll just do a few little through here. Alright, now through this white area here, we're going to add some white. Okay, for our chest area, back to that, we're going to mix a little bit of black and white and make a really light gray. Thin that with a little bit of water, and then we're going to stroke in just a few little strokes. These are not long. You don't have to have a ton of them. We just need a little color laid in here. Just, you should be able to do this fairly quickly because we're not doing lots of detail here. We're just getting a little bit of gray undertones here. And actually I might just come back with the, I'm going to go ahead and dab some of this lighter gray down in here. Get to it, we can already have that in here. through here. Dibby dabbies. Okay, I think I'm going to go back to my little stippling dome soft brushes. So I've got a smaller one here, and I'm going to use this one with some white paint. And I'm going to start just taking it through here and lightly blending. Just dab right over those strokes we made. It's not going to completely cover them up, but it will give us a little bit of that detail underneath. Just using Snow White here. Really don't want to get outside of my water, so I mean, we will be putting some stuff out in there, but some of this over our gray here, and tap a little bit on there, kind of start softening that stuff down. I'm not using very much paint, so it's not covering up everything. And we'll come back in and add some little details in here. You can see it didn't cover up all of our gray. I'm going to go back over it again. I do want it to be brighter. I want those gray strokes to be more subtle. I want the brightest area to be right along this chest line right here. We'll be shading down there. And I do want to use this brush again, so I don't want to wash it out. This kind of comes up through here. That needs to be white. Shade a little bit down through there. So we've got just a little bit of stroking. You can see a little. You can still see just a little bit of that. Those little gray strokes we put in there. Okay, and again, I want to use this brush later. So I'm going to just go and, actually before I do that, I'm going to go back here and dab a little bit in through here. We can clean up that edge of the wing there in a minute. We want to put some white in through here though. And we'll come back and add some little strokes of black in there. That's looking pretty good. Just a little bit there. we are going to thin a little bit of our black down. And we're going to add a few more darker areas in here. We're almost done with this penguin. We've got to work on this wing down here. So we want a few dabs down in here, and you can tap them and then blur them out with your finger if you want, so they're not quite so bright and on top. Teeny tiny little dabs through here. Okay, I'll put a few in here, but this is the lightest edge. We're going to float some blue on there in a little bit. We'll add some white little dabs in there. Let's put some down here on this wing. This is all the darker area down here, so we want to make sure it stays dark. And the wing stays shaped nice. Okay, up here on the back, we're going to put a few little strokes of black going across here. If you get too much, you can come back in with some white. We want to do the same over here. Too much paint on my brush. Dabs back in there. A couple little black ones through here. Tap them back with your finger. Just wherever you feel like you need to go back in and add a little bit. This is a good time to do it. I want to put a few right through here, but I really want to soften those back. Maybe add a little bit of white in there. We covered a lot of this up with our white. I definitely want them to be faded and down in there, okay? Okay, I'm gonna wash my brush out and do white now. And I'm gonna do a few little dibby dabs through here. These you don't necessarily have to touch back with your finger because they will fade down in there so much that it will not matter. Okay, I'll put a few down in here. I already did a few down in here once, but I want to do it again. Okay, we're going to put a few strokes in through here. And this needs to be, let's see about thinning a little bit of this. This needs to be on the edge over here, kind of lines and right through here we're going to have a white line. That's pretty bright and pretty thick, so let's take that down just a scooch. Make that a little bit thinner. And I'll bring my black back in here. Okay, I'm not really liking that, so I think I'll just take my gray and blend that back out. I'm not going to do those little lines on the wing part. I just don't like them. That was a lot of water. And just kind of blend that out a little bit. A little scumbly brush back out here. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do it over here, through there, and not worry about the rest of it. Okay, a little bit of black. I need to fix right through there. Okay, I want a little bit darker up through here. Stay inside my lines here. Doesn't help when you got black paint all over every single finger you got here. So make sure that's dark through there. Just a little scumbling. Okay, I think our penguin looks pretty good. We're going to add some highlights and shading on here now. And then we're going to do our water bubbles. Okay, we're going to shade along the lower part of the penguin, on the chest, on the beak. We're going to go under this arm and on this wing, but when we go to this wing we're going to darken just a little bit. So I'm going to take my tropical blue, and I don't want hardly any paint here. I just want a very soft color. That paint to come out of there. That's plenty, I'm sure. Way more than I want, so wipe my brush off and grab a little bit of clean water. I would rather have it too light than too dark. I'm going to pinch this side just a little bit to remove a little bit of that moisture. We're going to go along the bottom of the beak. And this will take a couple of passes because I'm using such a light color here. Actually, I'm going to grab a little bit more color. There we go, a little bit better. And we'll just go along here very, very lightly. Okay, along the chest there. Go underneath the wing here. Make sure that bottom one is dry before you do this, or you'll just be lifting your paint. Okay, that's with that blue. Okay, Okay, I'm going to add a tiny little bit of black to that. I'm going to get a little bit more blue and add a tiny little bit of black to it. Make this blue-gray color, and we're going to put this on this wing. Pretty much we're going to cover the whole wing with this. That didn't take it down too much, so we'll definitely have to repeat that. Up here on the penguin, I still want a bright edge on that chest. So I'm going to take my white and very lightly I don't want to cover up my blue, so don't cover up your blue. You can omit this step if you feel like it's just too difficult. Okay, that's good enough. Just a little outline there. A little bit of tiny white back in there. And then I do need a little bit of black right here. Okay, let's go back and darken this wing with the blue and the black, making a blue-gray color. I'm not going to take it all the way to that edge. I want a light edge there. I'm going to create a light edge on the other side. So we'll keep a light edge there. And actually this did need a little bit of a light edge. So let me grab some white. A little bit of a light edge there. Okay, we're going to create a brighter highlight on the back of the penguin, but first I'm going to take that mix that I used down here and just darken a little bit right next to this wing. A little bit darker through there. And that looks good. Okay, up on the back here, I'm going to take some of my white, side load for a float, and we're going to brighten right through here. This is going to be a bright highlight right through there. On the back of the penguin, you can tap that with your finger if you want to soften that out. We're going to go along the back here. Get a little bit more white. Okay, and we want on the top of the head. Again, a little pity pat, tap, tap, tap. This one definitely needs to be brighter. A little bit irregular. Pity pat, tap, tap, tap. Hopefully you're on camera for that. Let's put a little bit, actually I'm going to put a tiny little bit of blue in with that white. And we'll do a little bit of a highlight right through here. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. Okay, I need my little highlight along this. Do a little white and blue mix here, a little tiny bit of water, and we're going to line on this edge. Okay. Touch up here because that's where my blue kind of bled into my wing when I was creating my background, my water. Okay, a little bit of this blue and white mix along this one. Okay. Maybe a little bit of the blue and white mix. Just a little bit here. Okay. I think that's looking pretty good on our penguin. I may come back in and add, actually I am going to come back in and add some bright little sparkly whites. I can find some clean white here. Some little sparkly highlights on there. A few here, maybe it's glistening from the water, and then a few up here, the high point of the head, so we can have just a few glistening up there. How fun is he? Super fun. That blue. Okay, he's looking pretty good. I think we're ready to work on our water a little bit. I'm going to work a little bit of texture into the water before we go and finish with our water line and our bubbles, but I am going to go ahead and transfer on the water line and the bubbles. Okay, he's looking pretty darn cute, I think. So I've drawn in my water line. We're going to have a few bubbles over here. We're going to work on those last. But we want to create the look of water reflecting. We want this penguin to look like he is above the water, not completely underneath it. So we're going to start adding some reflective stuff back here, like bokeh type effect. So I'm going to go back to this smaller domed brush. You can use a smaller brush, you can use a flat brush, you can use a filbert brush, you can use any kind of brush that you want. I'm going to pick up, I've got all of the colors that we used in the water on my plate plus black. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of the white and a little tiny bit of the tropical and blend those together. I want it to be more of a lighter color, not completely blue. So we're going to create some bokeh effect in here, okay? So I'm going to remove the paint that's on the tip, and we're going to go up here and just scrub a little bit of this through here. We want it to blur out, so let it blur, and we'll just put some of these all through here. I'm going to come in with my round brush and do some, grab a little bit more of that paint that I had mixed, and we'll put a little bit through here. This I'm not going to press very hard over here because I don't want a lot of light color. This is the dark part, but we do want to see a little bit of blurring out back through here. I'm going to mix a little bit more. Laguna and white. Remove, especially off the tip, because I don't want this to come off incredibly bright to begin with. Now I'm just kind of dabbing and creating some areas that are lighter through here. A little bit more paint. We're going to have to brighten a lot of these up, but this is just getting us a little bit going here. Okay? Alright, I'm going to add more white to my brush. And no more of that Laguna. Tap, tap, tap. So we started out with just a very, very, very subtle stuff back there. Now we're going to go in with a little bit brighter white. I'm going to pick up a little bit more. Move some. A little bit of dabbing in here. This is the top of the water, so we want to see some sparkle from the sun on this. Okay. Now I'm just using white. I really don't want it too bright over here. So I'll soften it back with my finger. Keep it from being incredibly bright. And that's really pushed back there. I'm rubbing a little bit harder now, leaving a little bit more paint behind. Load up a little bit more because I want to do some dabbing on here. going to take this brush, add a little bit of that Laguna and the white together, mostly the white, tiny little bit of Laguna. And I want to put a little glow of this on our penguin down here, oops, below the water line. Mostly on the white area, because we can't see this on the, this is that green and white blended together. I just want to see a little bit of that green underwater color. Look a little bit more like it's under the water. Okay, back up here, a little bit more white paint. I think I'll probably try and finish out the rest of this with a round brush. Okay, I'm going to probably use this, so I'm going to remove the paint out of it, just in case I still need it. I'm going to remove as much as I can, put a little hand sanitizer in it, and quickly clean it out. Now I'm going to go into my small round, and we're going to be using white paint. And I'm going to brighten some of this stuff. Especially some little sparkly stuff on the water. Tap that with my finger. Off of my penguin's head right there. My water is not going to come up that high on the penguin. I want to work on the water out here first, and then we'll go work on the water line on the penguin. Bit of sparkly stuff out here, just in a few places. I think once we get that water line drawn in, all this little dabbing and stuff up here will make a little more sense. This is definitely a bokeh effect here. Okay, so we're going to leave that there. Well, actually, I'm going to put a few more back through here. A little bit brighter. Maybe not soften them out with my finger so much. And we can come and work on this a little bit more as we work on the water line. Okay, that's pretty sparkly through there, I think. I think I'll leave that there for now because I want to start working on the water line. All right, so for the water line, we are going to mix our Laguna and our white. First, we're going to paint in this little area right here where the water kind of comes up. I'm going to add a little bit of tropical blue to that. Maybe the other blue. Actually, I want more Laguna because I want it to be that greenish blue color right through here. Okay, not really sure how well you can see that because it blends in with the water, but we're going to take some white and Laguna. I'm just going to take this mix that I did there, add some white to it, and a little bit of water to thin it, and we're going to start painting in our water line. So we're just going to follow the line that we made. Goes up and over, back down. I'm going to add a little bit more white in there so we can see it better. Up and over and back down. That is some transparent water there. Goes along here. Use a detail liner if that works best for you, and then this is all the bubble stuff over here, so I'm not going to worry about that for right now. Okay, so there is the beginning of our water line. Okay. Mix a little bit more of that. We're going to have like a dual line in here. Okay, so I'm going to do another line that's going to be right beside that one. Really, really close to it. We're going to put a thin gray line in between. So I don't want this to be very wide. That's getting almost too wide right there. Okay, I'm going to take some white, and in this area right through here, we're just going to create some little lines in through there so we can start seeing that little bit of area right there. I think I'll do my gray next. My gray line, and it really isn't going to be probably along the whole thing. It needs to be a little bit darker of a gray. So I'm just making it a dark gray. I had a little bit of blue still on my brush, and that's okay. A little bit darker of a gray. We'll see if this shows up. We want it especially right through here. And I might put a little bit through here. I'm going to come back and highlight that. We want a little bit on the outside here, maybe not so much on the inside. A little bit through here. Use a fine detail liner if you need to. We'll have a little bit through here. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of water in my brush, and we're going to put some of this through here. We want this to be kind of transparent through here, but we need to see a little bit of color right there. Okay, so we're getting the makings of our waterline. We're going to brighten that waterline. So I'm going to take just white on my brush now. Again, you can use a detail liner if you are not comfortable using a small round. So we're going to create a little bit of highlight along here. More white. It's hard in the white areas to really see that. And we'll come back probably and add a little bit more green into this. See, I'm not going along the entire length of it. I'm just doing a little bit here and there. I'm going to grab a little bit of that Laguna and mix it in with my white again. I really want to see that greener color. I don't want it to blend in with the water, but I do want to see a little bit. That greener edge there. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of this dark color. Actually, I want it darker, so I'm going to mix the Laguna and the open water and put a little bit of this in back through here and create a little bit of some shadows. Back in there, just a little bit of dibby-dabbing kind of stuff, like we did with the white. I'm going to come back with a little bit brighter white on here. Okay, go back into my white because I definitely want to not have those be so noticeable. Just straight white here. A little bit of white through here. Okay, now this area right through here, I think what I'm going to do is dampen it. We've got a nice little gray that started right there. I'm going to take a little bit of white. Make it slightly gray, just barely gray. It's mostly white. And I want to put some of this into that water area right there. I want that to soften out. Just use a dry brush and do that. We'll let that dry and we'll add some color to it. I'm going to put a little bit of it. I have to have water in it. I want it to be thin. I'm going to put a little bit of it through here. And pick up a little bit of that green. Put some of that through there. A little bit of water so I can thin that. More work on this water here. A little brighter. Some brightness right through here. Reflecting whatever it's reflecting. Smooth it out with your finger. I need a little bit of black in there. Reflecting. Maybe a little bit of blue in here. Going to be white though. Okay, I'm going to take my Snow White here, and I want a few little really sparkly areas here, like right along there. I want some right there. I'm going to put a little bit here. Bit of white along here. And I'm going to have to mix a little bit more of that gray color, that washed out gray color, with whatever black and white and whatever blue that you used. Right through here. Maybe just a little bit more blue in there. And take my finger and pull that out so it looks like water on there. Make this line a little bit darker. A little bit of that washy color right through there. Okay, I'm going to take this washy color that I mixed, which was white, a little bit of black, and Laguna. A little bit of water. A little bit more Laguna. Okay, and I want to wash this in and around my bubbles. I don't know where my bubbles are, but they're going to be in here somewhere. Okay, I can put a little bit in the bubbles. Oops, wrong color. A little bit more of that Laguna. And we're going to tap some of this in here. And try and make the look of some bubbles. So a little bit more white in my mix here. So I just put white in my dirty brush is all I did. And so now I'm just kind of outlining some bubbles. This one down here is going to have to be outlined in some gray or something because I can't tell where it's at. And then I'll go back to my blue stuff here. Put some a little bit brighter blue in there. Take my white, and thin it down just a little bit. A little bit of white through here. Smooth that out. White through here. We're just going to create the highlights on the bubbles here. On the ones that we can really tell that are bubbles. So yeah, this over here, get a little bit more water in my brush. We're just gonna and I'm just gonna kind of soften that out. I'm going to take a little bit of black because we need some black back in here. Try and keep that pure black and not okay, so we got a little black back in there. And we definitely need more brighter white. So I'm going to wash out my brush. And create some bright stuff on there. And make sure we've got a little bit of a highlight along our water line in some important places. Okay, so above the penguin, that's the sky. Below the penguin is the water. So we're going to definitely be doing some stuff to the water down below. And finish that. I still want some brighter Laguna color on my water line. Okay. I think that looks pretty good for the waterline. You can always come back and add more brighter stuff on here and get it just like you want it. I do want to make sure we can see this little area through here. That's kind of important through there, so we'll try and make sure that we get that to stand out a little bit more as we darken the lower part of the water. It needs to be a little bit darker than the upper part. Now we can go in here again with our little brush and make some blurred out stuff like we did up here. And I think I want to create a couple of these a little bit brighter. I just want some of these that are getting a little bit more sunlight to definitely be a little bit more sparkly. Okay. Alright, let's leave it at that. Now I do want a little bit, a tint of this Laguna on the penguin. So we're just going to put a little bit. This is all underwater here, so we can put a little bit there. Well, I mean, that's kind of sitting on the top, but let's put some. Oops, sorry, I don't have you on camera. Some through here. I put some through there, right through there, right through here. It's very sheer, so I've got water in my brush. A little bit more through here. Okay, we really want that to show that green. It's underwater. I'm gonna put some through here and some through here. That's what I tried to do with that one brush, and it wasn't leaving a whole lot behind. And on this wing, we'll put some. And I'm going to put a little bit down here. Okay, I think that looks much better. I can see more green. Now the underwater color, I like that much better. A little bit more right here. Remove that instruction about dabbing some of this color in there, and we'll just come back at the end and wash some of that color in. That's going to help us a lot. Alright, so let's darken up down here at the bottom. Okay, we definitely want this area of the water to be darker, so we're going to make like a Payne's gray type color. So I'm going to take my, let me get a new plate. I'm going to take my midnight blue and my black. There's my midnight blue and some black. I could use graphite. Graphite is a little more transparent, so that might work a little bit better than black. So let's do the graphite. So the midnight and the graphite. That's going to make a little bit more of a Payne's gray color. More water. Midnight and graphite. That looks so much better. Okay, I'm gonna find a large brush here. Okay, I'm just gonna use this angle brush here and wash some of this in around our penguin. This is a very sheer color, and it should give us hopefully enough dark value down here. I have to mix up some more. I didn't mix up near enough. Take my sponge, I think, and blend this out. Get it on here as quickly as I can. Oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to use my sponge. It's already starting to dry. Okay, that got it a little bit darker down there. It can definitely be darker than this as well. But I think that gets us a good darkening there. I think I'm going to let it dry. I might see if I can grab an even bigger brush to wash in on this. Make a much larger amount, I think. But that looks better. I think it does need to be a little bit darker though. Okay, I put another wash of that mix of graphite and midnight blue on there. Got a larger brush so it was much easier the second time, and that looks pretty good. I'm very happy with it. I think that this turned out exceptionally well. I am so pleased with how it looks. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Please be sure and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Please like, comment, and share, you guys. It all helps me grow here on YouTube so I can keep bringing these awesome paintings for you guys. So I will see you guys on the next one, everybody. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.